Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador's Tourism Awareness Month, Tourism Closing Keynote. Standing still is not an option with Christina Miranda. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Kelly Finley, and I'm a board member of Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm also the general manager of the Wilds Resort in the beautiful Salmonier in Salmonier, Newfoundland on the East Coast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. Before we get started, I want to respectfully acknowledge the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as the ancestral homelands of many diverse populations of Indigenous people who have contributed to 9,000 years of history, including the Beothuk on the island of Newfoundland. Today, this province is home to diverse populations of Indigenous and other people. We also acknowledge, with respect, the diverse histories and cultures of the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit. This morning, I am happy to introduce our presenter, Christina Miranda. Christina is the principal and co-founder of Redpoint, a New York City-based agency that offers marketing, PR, consulting, and training services to the travel and hospitality companies. In this role, she helps build brands and make businesses stronger with both internal and external development and communication programs. She's a sought-after speaker, trainer, and consultant who has opened her brain and her heart to literally thousands of tourism professionals in Atlantic Canada. And I have always wanted to say this. Are we ready? Live from New York City, it's Christina Miranda.
Thank you. God, I needed to hear the crowd go wild. It's too bad I can't see everyone. That was awesome, Kelly. Thank you for that. I don't actually think anyone's ever done that for me before in a speech, so good to see you. Hey everyone. Hi, my friends in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's been a while. It's been a week. I guess we did this last week when we did the social media session. And today we are talking about something very different. It's not a workshop-y type of a situation today. Today, this is more of an inspirational type of situation. So I hope that you all have your coffee or your snacks or, your beer. I know it's early, but no judgment here from me. And we're going to spend the next hour talking about what's going on in the world and how you guys can navigate it. So give me just a second while I share my screen here. And then we should be good to go. Okay, in a minute, we should be good to go. There we go. Okay, super. So if you can't see my screen, I hope the Eastern audio guys will tell me that and we can figure that out. But if not, I'm just going to proceed as if everything is good. So standing still is not an option. I'm sure you all are wondering what we mean when we say that. And we're going to dive deeply into that today with a lot of examples and some really good advice. I'm going to try to leave you with 3 sort of key points of things that you can do during this time that is still a little bit wonky. So Kelly covered a lot about me, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. But for those of you, and I do think I probably know a significant number of people who are attending this today. But I do also think, I certainly don't know everyone in Newfoundland and Labrador at this point. I'm trying, I'm making it my mission, but so far I don't know everyone. And so I think it's important for a lot of you who do not know me to know that I do know a fair amount about your province. And I've been to lots of different places. I've had a lot of different experiences there. I've gotten to know your culture. I've gotten to know a lot of people. I've gotten to know a lot of nooks and crannies. I think many of you probably do you remember me as the woman who brought the cupcakes to the H&L conference a while ago? I think I brought cupcakes, so I guess that's how I endeared myself to you guys, which is awesome. But I have spent a fair number of days in the province, and that helps. I think from your perspective too, that really helps you understand that when I talk about tourism, and we have clients all over the globe, and we work with a lot of different people and a lot of different businesses and a lot of different brands, where the information and the advice that I share with you is really specifically designed for Newfoundland and Labrador. I understand your situation, certainly being an island destination and being more of a remote destination. makes it more challenging for you than it does, for the rest of the world during the pandemic. So all that is definitely going to be factored in today. And just sort of FYI, as an homage to your stunning province, every single Newfoundland and Labrador photo in this presentation was taken by me. I'd like to apologize to the Labradorians who are with us today because I have not yet set foot up in your area, but that is definitely next on my list. So future presentations will have lots of photos of Labrador as well. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about how being in tourism lately has been pretty sucky. And I don't think anybody who's in this session today would disagree with me on that. But more importantly, we are going to talk about how we can make it less sucky, which is the main goal that we all want. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be great, but I'm going to say that it's going to be less sucky, which is like the best we can hope for at this point. So let's start with how things have felt over this past year. This is pretty much how things have felt over this past year. I'm sure everyone is with me on this. Definitely has felt like a roller coaster as everything has changed and things are going back and forth and there's so much uncertainty and we're better, we're not better, we're cured, we're not cured, we're back to level 0, now we're on level 4. All of that stuff has made it really, really challenging, especially for the tourism industry. Tourism is maybe going to open for the Atlantic bubble, then maybe it isn't going to, and then maybe there's an inkling that maybe it's going to open for Canada, then maybe it's not going to. And so I get it. The roller coaster is not pleasant. I think it's often felt like this too, which this, by the way, was my first arrival by plane into Gander. I'm sure you've all seen this sort of picture before, but this was definitely cracking me up. I was like, where is everything? You couldn't really see it. So this felt a lot like the last year too. Like everything just sort of seemed bleak and you couldn't see, 100 feet in front of you and you couldn't make any plans and you didn't know what was out there. We've all experienced very erratic swings along a dramatic spectrum over the last year and couple of months. On the one hand, it's sort of like every once in a while you wake up and you do something and things feel a little normal and you're like, I got this. Like, this is great. I feel better. I feel like I have a handle on this. I feel like I know what to do. I don't feel so overwhelmed. You sort of have days like that. So maybe sometimes you have weeks like that. But then on the other end of the spectrum, literally the next day, you could wake up and feel total despair over the situation that's happening, and especially the lack of control, and not being able to really do anything about it. Ooh, I don't really want that, so let's do this. Okay, so the temptation to hide under the covers over the last year and a half or so has been super strong. But why is this still happening? Sorry, guys. However, why has this been so hard to conquer and why do we feel like hanging out under the covers? First of all, the end date is uncertain. And with an uncertain end date to any difficult situation, it's always going to be a problem because you can't measure out your stamina, and your positivity and, your commitment, your ability, your determination. You kind of can't measure because you don't know. So you think you're measuring long enough and then it keeps pushing and it keeps pushing and you've used up all your store of stamina and determination and everything. And you got to find more resources within you in order to keep pushing and keep chasing that end date. I think that roller coaster of is it improving or isn't it is especially true, for you all. You thought everything was going well in January, and then boom, February just smacked you upside the head with that resurgence. You're facing the same situation now. My heart goes out to you folks in Central. And so, that roller coaster of is it improving, it makes it really hard to plan. You're trying to plan to gear up again, and then, you kind of get pushed back down. It's like you're climbing to the top of a hole or something, and then you just get to the top, you put your hands down, and someone steps on your hands and knocks you all the way back down again. So, by the way, this story is going to get better. It's pretty depressing right now, so just bear with me. I promise you we're going to get better towards the end. It is so completely unfamiliar. No one's ever faced this before. The world hasn't faced this kind of situation before, and that made it really hard, especially since it came with no warning. And the entire tourism infrastructure, not just in your province, but around the world, has pretty much been ripped out. I mean, we never anticipated a time where travel would come ground to a complete halt around the world. So that really changed a lot for people. And if you add in the health fears to the mix, which are just amplifying the business fears, is your business going to survive? If you don't own the business, are you going to lose your job? Like all of those things, when you combine it with, am I going to get COVID and potentially get really sick? or maybe die. I mean, that is like a very, very dramatic situation to be facing. So that makes us want to hide under the covers because that makes it really, really hard to conquer. All of it at the same time is what's creating, it's sort of exacerbating the whole challenge. They're sort of crushing us, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of relief anywhere we turn. But yet, here we all are. We're all still standing. We're all still here talking about what to do next. I mean, we have not crumbled, and we have not, we've not hidden under the covers, and we've not all gone out of business, and we've not, it sucks, it sure sucks, but we're all still here, which is really interesting when you think about it. Humans, since the dawn of time, have been incredibly resilient creatures, and we survive a lot of things. And I'm sure this picture is not a surprise to anyone in your province. I know we have a very special connection over that. This picture actually means a lot to me. I'm not sure if a lot of you know this about me, but my office was just 3 short blocks away from the World Trade Center on 9/11. And when I say short, I mean short. Like, I walked out of my building that morning to evacuate carrying, 4 shopping bags of things. We had all the backup tapes because this was before the cloud existed. I had the backup tapes and the files and stuff. We had no idea what was going on and if our building was even going to be standing once this whole thing was done. Wearing backless high heels and just get out on the street with the rest of the folks who were in early that morning. And the second tower crumbled, and then we ran for our lives, carrying all that stuff in backless high heels. And then I walked over 20 miles to get off of Manhattan Island that day, carrying all that stuff because, again, we didn't know what was going to happen. And I vowed that day that I was never going to work downtown again. I was never going to live downtown. I wasn't even going to go eat at a restaurant downtown. I never wanted to go to that area again. I was totally done with it. I will give you one guess where my current office is right now. 20 years later, my office is 8 blocks from Ground Zero, where the World Trade Center. We are resilient, and we survive a lot of things, and things that we think are insurmountable and we're never going to get through them, we somehow manage to make it happen. So, when we look at this situation, and 9/11 was a tragedy, but what's interesting is that it affected a lot of people around the world, but it really was New York, right? So when we think about tragedies and we think about tough situations, hurricanes or natural disasters or crime situations, or anything like that, these sort of like terrorist attacks, they're localized. They might impact the world in general, but they really affect the region that they're in. What's different about this situation is that the whole entire world is hit at the same time. And this is so different than it just being you or your region. First of all, you're not losing ground to your competitors. So even if it was something that happens to your business and not even something that was like a natural disaster, you had a fire or something happened to your business and it went under or whatever, a hurricane hits one side of the province and not the other side of the province, you worry because you're losing ground to your competitors, other people in the province. That's not happening now. Everybody is shut down, and we're all learning these new habits together, not just your province but around the world. We're learning things like masks, we're learning about safety, we're learning about how to travel differently, we're learning about how to interact with potential guests differently. We're learning about social media differently. So, when we look at it now, it's like if weirdness is the norm, it's not even weird anymore because everybody's going through the same thing at the same time. So it's kind of not weird if everybody's doing it. And overall, that makes the industry and the guest expectations significantly lower because right now, anybody who's traveling, they're just happy to be able to travel. It almost doesn't matter whether you provide good service or whether you have a full menu or whether you have your full range of amenities or tours running right now. I mean, right now, it's like people are just happy to be getting out of this situation and to be able to travel and potentially feel normal again. So that makes a big difference to, the overall situation. Basically, it's not just you, and there's some comfort and value in the fact that it's not just you. That is not bringing revenue in your door. I totally get that, and I'm not saying that that's going to turn your business around and you should just feel good now and forget all the bad stuff that I just mentioned before. There is something to be said for the fact that it is an entire global industry that's facing that. So let's get philosophical for a moment. This is my favorite, like one of my favorite places in Newfoundland, by the way. I sat on these benches in Summerford for like 6 hours wine and cheese. And, after doing some workshops around Newfoundland for H&L, thank you, Carolyn Swan, if you're on this call, for turning me onto this park in Summerford. So let's get philosophical for a moment. We'll use these benches as our little guide. What kind of positives may have resulted from this situation? Okay. They're there if you look at them. First of all, they potentially highlighted the chinks in your business armor, which is always a very welcome opportunity when you get to see where the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses are, and hopefully not in such a way that actually crushes you or makes you go out of business. But you can see where the pain points are. You can see where maybe you're overstaffed, or maybe you're understaffed, or maybe this thing was relying a lot on heavy labor, but now you don't have heavy labor, so are you able to do it? You're able to see how your business doesn't translate well to different situations. And so that kind of an opportunity is really good for you. You can trim your operational fat. Maybe you were overstaffed and that was out of habit because it just was always the way. This sort of gives you the opportunity to clear the chessboard and then rebuild anew on a stronger, healthier foundation. Government funding is a big part of it. You guys will always complain about not having enough. Let me tell you, you need to come to the United States, because my US clients are always so jealous of the fact that there is so much government funding available for folks in Atlantic Canada, especially thanks to COA, but there are so many other opportunities as well. And that has helped a lot of people. Having that funding, it might have given you, sure, it was replacing labor, it was replacing staff, it was replacing lost revenue, but maybe it gave you an opportunity to build a new portion of your business that you'd always wanted to, but you didn't have the resources to do it. Or maybe it gave you the opportunity to kind of recast how you do your business, or invest in some other area that you had always wanted to and really couldn't before. So the government funding has allowed a lot of businesses to, take off, to grow, to try new things, and really explore some things in details and depth that you never had time for before. It's unfortunate that you got all this time in such a bad way. Like, this isn't how we wanted to get more time back in our lives. But it's here. And while in March and April and May of last year, we were so nervous and anxious from the whole thing that very few people were able to say, wow, I have all this time on my hands, let me rebuild my business. It didn't really work that way because there was too much emotion. But now we've had an opportunity to get adjusted to this whole thing. And now we might actually have a good chance at using this time more wisely. So it really all depends on how you look at the situation. That's the glass, half full, the glass full, the glass with no water in it. I mean, it's like you can look at all of these different aspects of the situation. And while losing the revenue and not having the tourism infrastructure sucks, we can't hide under the covers on our bed. We have to look and say, what can we do and what can we do to make the best of this? And I'm sure a lot of you are saying, Jesus Christ, Chris, stop talking to me about glasses of water. I feel like it's a tidal wave actually crushing me and overwhelming me. This is probably what a bunch of you really feel like. But here's the interesting thing about getting knocked down by massively crushing waves. They knock you out of complacency. And it's very, very easy, especially if you've been in business for a long time. It's very easy to get complacent with your habits, with your structure, with your offerings, with your marketing. You kind of get into a groove and you get into a pattern, and it makes it very difficult to accept change. Well, if you've ever heard the term get your head out of your ass, I mean, this situation knocked everybody's head right out of their ass on this stuff. And how else would you have been given that gift? Because the whole world had to shut down in order to allow you the opportunity to look ahead and potentially rebuild in a better and more healthier way. So what we all need to do now is really adapt to meet the new day that's coming. And I just want to mention this. I feel really badly for the word pivot, because pivot used to be such a normal word, and now we all hate it because, in April, saying businesses needed to pivot of last year was totally fine. By the time May rolled around, or June, we were so sick of hearing that businesses needed to pivot and do something differently. So I'm not going to use the word pivot anymore. Let's use the word adapt, okay? You at this point have an opportunity to look at your business and look at the landscape. Are there other sources of revenue that you can be generating? Are there unexpected promotional opportunities? Is this a perfect opportunity for you to rebrand? Because rebranding, for example, something that a lot of businesses want to do, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort in order to do it. And when you're trying to run your business and rebrand your business at the same time, That's really difficult. That's you don't have enough bandwidth sometimes to do all those things. Well, maybe your business is going to be a little lower. So maybe this is the perfect opportunity to do those things. Can you be offering new services? Can you be testing out some new things? Can you create new partnerships? These are the kinds of adaptations that we're looking at. And sometimes those things are easier to try when you have a smaller scale of business or a smaller scale of guests than you're used to. You can hopefully, in some cases, do them a little bit more under the radar. So the question you need to ask yourself is really, how can you use this upcoming phase to make your business stronger? I'm going to suggest 3 things that you should do as you look ahead to the coming summer months. First of all, don't freeze from stress and indecision, which is the easiest thing in the world to do. Anybody who's ever had a very big to-do list with things on it that are unpleasant, you know what I'm talking about. You look at it and you're like, I don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to go have a donut, right? I mean, pretty much that's what you do. So you don't want to freeze from stress and indecision. I work with a ton of tourism businesses worldwide, and the bottom line is the ones who are like wringing their hands and saying, oh my God, there's nothing we can do. Those are the ones who are going out of business. What you need to be doing during this time is this. You need to be asking a lot of questions. You need to be probing the situation, seeking funding, like what are the opportunities and how can you be a part of them? Creating support groups. You guys are not alone, not only in Newfoundland and Labrador, but in the other Atlantic provinces, in the rest of Canada, and around the world. So how can you talk with other businesses that are in the same situation that you are to get some ideas and see what they're doing? Do that research. Like, yeah, you're in a very different situation than the Maritimes, right? Because you've got your own, Newfoundland has its own island and Labrador is pretty far north. So like what's Norway doing? And what's Sweden doing? What's Iceland doing? Even like what's Tasmania doing in the south out by Australia? There are definitely going to be businesses and organizations who are doing things really well, and you could get some ideas from them. So doing that research and seeing what other people are doing to survive this time and to make the most of it is going to be really useful for you because it's like more input, and it's more positivity. And we'll talk about positivity in a minute. So thinking about things and trying things, and trying to continue to move forward is always going to be better than freezing and doing nothing. I promised you we would talk about positivity, and we will right now. So using positivity into the situation. Okay, we're in the hospitality business, guys. It is our duty to lift people's spirits and entertain them. And right now, you probably don't feel like doing that, and you certainly didn't feel like doing it last year because you're just as overwhelmed as all the other people. But think about the healthcare workers, okay? They still have to pull out all the stops and do their job despite the fact that the situation is horrible. And hospitality needs to do the same thing. So the question is, what is our role in this whole situation? What's our role to the world? And what's our role to people if we can't be entertaining them in the same way that we were able to entertain them before? This Vinny's Pizzeria. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Brooklyn and gone to Vinny's Pizzeria. It's a pretty well-known local pizza joint in Brooklyn, New York. And yes, that is a pizza being served in a box made of pizza. I forget we're Americans, so we do things like excess and gluttony way, way better than you guys do in Canada. So Vinny's last year in like April, they added a new item to their menu. For $1, you could have your delivery person give you comforting words when they delivered your pizza. So you deliver your pizza and then they would say to you, it's okay. Everything is you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together and you're doing a great job. So you can pay them $1 and the delivery person would say that. Now, yeah, publicity stunt for sure. They got a ton of coverage on it, but also the dollar was meant to help the delivery people get more money during a time when not as many people at that time were getting delivery happening. And it was fun. It was fun at a time when there really wasn't a lot of fun. And it really spoke to that level of, you come to our place, we take good care of you and we treat you like family and we care about you. Like they couldn't have done a better job on that. So what we need to be asking ourselves is how do we bring joy and happiness, even if it's not the same kind we normally get to deliver, right? And if you think, for all of you skeptics out there, if you think that that is just altruistic and you don't have time or money to do those types of things, let me assure you right now that it is a damn good business strategy. People are starving for stuff right now that makes them feel good. And they've been deprived of that feeling for so long that they're going to be craving that feel-good feeling for a really, really long time, way, way more than they normally do. So who do you think they're going to remember when they can travel again? Are they going to remember the people who entertained them and made them feel good, or are they going to remember the ones who made no impression on them at all, right? So, I mean, you know, Vinny's made an impression on people with that comforting word thing, and everybody was talking about it. Now, after things are calming down again, I think lots of different pizzerias, when I think of Vinny's, it always makes me smile because I will never forget that, you know, that they did that. So bringing joy is just another business opportunity to build up strong relationships with people. And you have a great opportunity to do that right now, given the situation. Okay, number 3, test new ideas. I need to take a sip of coffee for this one, so hang on. All right, we ready to talk about new ideas? Let's do it. What do you mean by that, Chris? What do you mean by testing new ideas? Because I don't even have a brain cell or any joy or power to do anything right now, but hold on. You need to be curious. And like I said before, you need to look at what other people are doing around the world, because they will give you some inspiration for things that you might be able to try and test out and take some small risks. So let's look at a few of these. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the National Cowboy and Heritage Museum in Oklahoma, but when the pandemic first happened last year and the museum had to close, whether this was a PR stunt or it's snowballed into something that became one, I have no idea. But they had their security guard, he was an essential worker. He was still required to go to the museum while it was closed and keep watch on everything. And Tim, who obviously is not a social media savvy person, took over the social media accounts for the National Cowboy Museum. And his very first post was, "Hello friends, my name is Tim, and I am head of security for the Cowboy. I have been asked to take on the additional duty of social media management while the museum is closed. I'm new to social media, but I'm excited to share what I am told is called content on all of the Cowboys, what I am told are platforms, including the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Instagram. My team and I will also continue to protect and monitor the museums and grounds. Thanks, Tim. We are required to smile in our official photos." And then instead of pressing go, he actually typed the word send, which is kind of adorable. So he did this. And what happened? Over the next couple of weeks, he started posting, showing clearly that he does not know jack about social media. You know, this is the hat and eye patch the Duke wore in True Grit, lots of interesting photos. I'm told I can't try it on. And then he writes out the words #JohnWait, because Lucas's grandson told him to use hashtags, which again is kind of adorable. Let's look at what we've got down here. On March 17th, we had 2,000 likes on this tweet, right? We go over here to March 21st. Someone suggested I post a TikTok. So what does he do? He goes out in the museum and finds a clock instead of obviously posting something on TikTok. And he shares a little bit about that thing. So while he's making fun of himself and making fun of the whole social media thing, he's also sharing things that you can do and see and find at the museum. He's graduated to the point where he's made a hashtag, but he actually included the word hashtag in his hashtag, which is once again kind of adorable. But look what we've got going on here. This was March 17th. This was March 21st. 25,000 likes on this tweet and 290 comments. So they skyrocketed in terms of interacting with people on social media just from this one choice that they made, despite the fact that the museum was closed and despite the fact that they were no longer making revenue from that. So what they get out of this whole situation? First of all, huge social media followings, because I am damn sure that the National Cowboy Museum did not have 278,000 Twitter followers before this guy took over their social media accounts. 80,000 people on Instagram, 95,000 people on Facebook. They would never have been able to build such an audience organically without this situation having happened. So this was like a benefit to them that this happened. I guess you couldn't say they wanted it, but it was sort of a silver lining in the situation. And it really is placing them in a good spot for marketing now that everything is opening again. Another company called Plaza Chocolate, which is based in right outside Boston in Massachusetts, they had factory tours and they had in-person tasting events at their chocolate shop. And obviously they couldn't do any of those things when the pandemic happened. So they started offering virtual chocolate tastings where you purchase the box, here's the box, you purchase the box online, here's all the stuff that comes in the box over here, and they have these tastings. Now they do tastings twice a week, but that are set up regularly, and you can join them, based on the calendar, or you can also do private events as well. So this is a big shift for them, and they even include things in their tasting like pairings, like pairing this salted almond chocolate, this goes with this cheese and this wine and this beer, which is amazing. They give you a tasting wheel. They put all these things together that allow people to do this sort of tasting at home. What'd they get out of it? First of all, in red here, let's see what they said. They invested in creating a lesson that worked really well virtually. Some video footage of the owner going into Mexico in the jungles with the chocolate and the blah, and like how the process goes. And they put these slides and infographics together. So when you're on Zoom with them, they develop these techniques where it's part live, part tasting, part talking to the person who's leading you through the tasting. But there's also all of these other things that are showing you the types of things that you would have seen in their film room, or things that would have been handed to you that they would have been able to go over, right? So they did that to make the virtual setting really excellent. So they offer these 2 classes of virtual tastings weekly in a group setting. They have different size boxes available, $39.99 and $79.99 plus shipping. And for an additional $100, they'll host a private class for a minimum of 10 people. Besides a completely new revenue stream that makes way more money than their factory tour and in-person tastings ever did, and without all the health and safety regulations that you have to deal with when you have people come into your facility, they gained awareness and connections in far-reaching markets and really catapulted their online sales because, in-person stuff, they're only able to reach the people who were in that local geographic area and also people who visited that local geographic area. Now they can reach people around the world and they're able to do these tastings. So they invested in making this process, and it was a big investment for them to shift to this direction. But now they have this investment made already, and they can be continuing to do this even after their facility opens, and they still have that revenue stream available to them. I think many of you know Chef Al from The Kilted Chef. He's another one who's done, I think, a phenomenal job at transforming himself during this time. Those of you who know him know that he's never home because he's probably the only person I know who travels more than I do for a living. And he was always on the road doing appearances and demonstrations and lectures and classes and things like that. And obviously he couldn't do that, so he transformed his kitchen into a cooking lesson stage. And every day they do these different things. So what's happened now here? You see, 45,000 people following him on Facebook, and partnerships and different kinds of sponsorships and different kinds of opportunities. I think he has done a phenomenal job at promoting all the classes in advance, all the cooking demonstrations in advance, and then following up afterward with really amazing photos. I'm sure they invested in some really good sort of videography equipment, lighting. In order to do that, you have to make a little bit of an investment, in order to make it happen properly. But now he's sort of got that under his belt, and he has that as another sort of marketing arrow in his quiver. So what did he get out of this? A deeply, deeply engaged audience on multiple channels for future marketing. I have not asked him how much travel he's going to go back to once we're allowed to travel again. But he certainly got a tricky opportunity to stay home and mix that in. Maybe he'll go on the road some and do only a weekly show or whatever. I have no idea. But now he has that leverage and he has that thing available to him, which, given his situation prior to the pandemic, he never would have been able to build that network and build that engaged audience and sort of build that platform. So now he can use that platform any way he wants moving forward. Then let's look at a different gent who wears a skirt on a regular basis. We've got this drag queen who lives in Denver. He was a pastry chef, Martin Howard, and he was a pastry chef at really high-end restaurants and did lots of amazing catering. And when the pandemic hit and he was out of work because the restaurants closed and catering dried up, he had done some drag queen stuff on the side, I guess, like you do sometimes. And so he decided he was going to be a drag queen and sell pie, which, is kind of a brilliant decision. So he developed his own personality as the Pie Queen. His name is officially Chocolate, Queen of the Dessert, which is a very funny play on words. And you can book a pie and drag queen performance with him. He shows up at your place with pulling his pie and his karaoke box in a little red wagon. And because the world is amazing. And so now he's become known for this in Denver, in the Denver area. He's become known for this, and obviously a lot of people buy pies that don't also want, a drag queen performance. But what did he or she, I should say, get out of this? A thriving pandemic-proof baking business, which he was never able to start his own business before, even though he wanted to. Local and national fame, and a huge foundation for a booming party and event business, because especially as things return to normal, he's going to be able to parlay that into him doing performances at bigger events and bigger parties and cater with all the pies and things like that as well. So that's 3 cheers to him. Now let's talk a little bit about virtual tours and experiences. This is another area to maybe kind of test things out, right? So I'm using a couple of examples from Airbnb's experience. I know Airbnb is, can be like a dirty word in your province and in a lot of other places, but for the purposes of this, just to look at some of the different types of examples of virtual tourism experiences that can be offered. Airbnb has a great section of their website where you can do, if you see it here, a part of Airbnb online experiences. So I'm mentioning this one, the Red Point Gang did this one recently. Follow a plague doctor through Prague, which is so interesting because here we are in the middle of the pandemic and we're studying what the pandemic was like, so hundreds of years ago. And they did this couple. So here they've already had 2,763 reviews. So you got to figure out how many people actually took this tour if they have that many reviews. And this couple, Lucy and David, they put this tour together, and they dressed this person as a plague doctor. They got special permission during the early stages of the pandemic when everything was shut down. They got special permission from the city of Prague to be able to film this at night. And they actually filmed the plague doctor walking through the town, and they used that as the guide for the live person who was interacting with you on as part of the session, who's like answering questions and doing quizzes and like talking about the different areas and then talking about what it was like then versus what it was like now. And since that plague doctor is walking through today's Prague, it really does give you a sense of the city and a sense of the culture and the architecture. And I'm not kidding when I say that every single person at Red Point got off that thing and said, I want to go to Prague, right? So it was a big boost in terms of, making the people who are participating in it interested in potentially going to visit. Now, what did Lucy and David get out of this? First of all, again, in red here, they invested in producing a well-lit, well-filmed night walking through Prague. And they developed a coordinated virtual experience with slides and video that educated tour guests on plague history and what Prague has to offer visitors today. I'm telling you right now, based on their calendar and how many bookings they have, they are making way more on virtual tours than they ever did during in-person tours. They just created an entire eagerly primed pool of potential guests for the future. And they can continue these even when travel is allowed again. This, again, is a new and easy revenue stream for them to keep up because they've already built the tour. They've already built the infrastructure. Now, every time they replicate it, they're just making more and more return on that investment. If you look at the Airbnb online experiences, you'll see a lots of different types of virtual tourism experiences that you can offer. Here's Pasta with the Grandmas in Italy, Irish village history and culture, an evening with a flamenco composer in Spain, meet the woolly sheep and lambs, and obviously there's a quiz, which I would love to take a quiz about woolly sheep and lambs. I know nothing right now, but maybe after I take this the online experience, maybe I'll know a bit more. So, these types of things are, like I said, these are just offered through Airbnb, but there are online platforms that share tours and experiences, in multiple places. And they can be shared through your own website. They can be shared through your social media channels. They can be shared through your partner DMOs and provincial partners and things like that. And so there's an opportunity to get virtual tourism experiences out there beyond just Airbnb. So, are you going to make your fortune with virtual experiences? Who knows? Some of the examples I just gave you obviously were extremely successful, and that's not necessarily always the case, but you can make some money and you can develop a new permanent sales and marketing channel. You can certainly gain more awareness, attract future guests, grow your social media followings, get media attention, and have fun and bring joy, which is definitely a key element of what we all should be doing in hospitality and tourism right now, is really having fun and bringing joy to travel-starved people, And to people who've had a really horrible year, and we've all had a horrible year, but usually, like, you know how it is in the hospitality industry, you're not allowed to have a bad day because your guests might have a bad day and it's your job to cheer them up. So they just had a bad year and we're not allowed to have a bad year. We have to be the ones who bring joy and cheer people up. So investing in these kind of things are an investment that won't ever go to waste, and they continue to bring you ROI basically forever. So what we need to be doing here, that's me, by the way. I didn't take this picture. Someone took it of me. So that was me. Those were the days when my shoulders weren't old and creaky the way they are now. I'm not sure I could manage that one today. What we need to do is really envision the possibilities. And you guys have a big opportunity coming up this summer. Now, last summer felt a little hopeless because of shock and because travel seemed like an impossible dream. This summer, we are almost off the runway. We're so close, guys, so close. And it's easier to be more positive. We've all had time to adjust to the situation. Even if we still don't like the situation, at least we are not like deer in the headlights like we were last year. Like, where did this come from and what's going on? And is it ever going to end? We're in a much better situation, much better headspace. So yes, you are likely to have more visitors this summer now that vaccinations are happening. Again, hoping we can tamp down what's going on in Central. You're likely to have them from folks in your own province and from Atlantic Canadians at the very least, hopefully more than that. And that's awesome because you can restart some semblance of normal operation. But now people are used to virtual experiences. If you had tried to launch virtual experiences 2 years ago, there wasn't a market for it. There wasn't an audience for it. So it would have, I don't want to say it would have been a waste, but it would have been a lot of investment for a potentially elusive market, like one that you weren't sure was going to be there or how engaged they would be. But now people are used to virtual experiences and they'll be used to them forever. Even when we go back to real life, they're not going to stop being used to virtual experiences. And it's not going to feel weird to them to do them anymore. So how can you tap that to draw more eyes and seed more interest from people who might not travel to you this summer, but they could potentially in the future? And while it is depressing to think that this summer your businesses may not go back to normal as you would all hope that they would, at least from a stamina and mental bandwidth and uncertainty standpoint, you should be in a better position mentally to say, okay, fine, it sucks. What am I going to do about it? And one of the things you can be doing about it is building your reputation and building your image and doing the type of marketing that will make your 2022 and beyond significantly stronger. And if that's all you can do, it is so freaking better than hiding under the covers and doing nothing. So let's kind of focus on not what we can't do, but what we can do. So let's kind of talk about what if for a second, and like what are some of the possibilities and what if we did this? What if hotel tour companies, DMOs, or attractions in Newfoundland and Labrador did a fun weekly virtual tour of their area, meeting the locals, seeing the sites, going inside various attractions? Think of the Cowboy guy, who even someone who isn't social media savvy can have fun with this and actually make it really good. But like meeting different, that's one of the best things about your province is just like walking around and seeing what's out there and meeting people and learning about your culture and stumbling upon things, right? So what if there was either a hotel or a tour company or DMO or attraction, or all of you banded together, a DMO ran it and had all these different people involved and different businesses involved, doing these types of things and sharing that Newfoundland and Labrador experience with other folks outside of your province. What if restaurants did cooking shows, maybe in partnership with some media companies or social influencers who have large followings on social media? Because it would be great to have a built-in channel that could broadcast and amplify this beyond just whatever the restaurant's channel is. And so what if that happened, right? And then you could have different chefs coming in and doing it, or you could talk about Newfoundland and Labrador cuisine, or you could talk about sustainability in cuisine. You could talk about, all different sorts of things that would make a cooking show really interesting. What if hotels offered virtual entertainment or a weekly kitchen party, right? And as part of that, it's not just like, hi, here's the band, we're going to put the video on the band and that's it. Now we're just going to play, because that's no different than anybody watching just a regular live concert. How do we turn that into a feeling of bringing a Newfoundland and Labrador kitchen party into someone's home. What are they experiencing? What do they need to know? What traditions do you have? Like, you could be teaching them about, kissing the cod and the ugly stick. And once, December rolls around, or, you're getting into the fall, you could give a whole session on mummering and do like a mummering fashion show, and, turning this whole thing into a cultural experience. It sounds like a lot, but it actually forms very deep bonds and connections with people when they feel like they know a lot about you. And what does it make you do? It's just like Prague. We all wanted to go to Prague when that was over. So what does something like this do? It makes you want to go to Newfoundland and Labrador. And if tour companies can offer virtual live versions of their tours weekly, or for private groups with maybe like colorful history and culture and maybe even some music thrown in, that would be phenomenal. I mean, even thinking about some of the boat tours that you guys have, you could run a tour once a week where it's totally virtual. It doesn't make people not want to book. A lot of times people are in interested businesses are nervous about doing virtual tours and virtual experiences because they're worried that it's going to cannibalize their in-person sales. But nobody sees a virtual tour of a whale and goes, I saw that now. I don't need to see that in real life. Like, it's not. It complements. It doesn't cannibalize. And so, doing those kinds of things is really cool. And I will say this about you guys. One thing I know for sure, you all are characters. And if anyone can make virtual tours and experiences work, it is people from Newfoundland and Labrador, because like I'm not saying that Joe O'Brien needs to dress in drag and pull around, pie in a little red wagon. I mean, I'd pay good money to see that, to be honest. I don't know if he's on this call, but somebody needs to tell him that I would pay good money to see him in drag. But, doing those kinds of things, getting to know those characters, for people to be able to get to know you as characters, going out on your boat with you, doing the types of conversations that you would normally have with guests in person, those things are translating really well online right now. And if your business isn't going back to the normal phase that it was before, and you've got some bandwidth going on this summer, this is a really good opportunity for you to start getting your feet wet in these kinds of things. So don't say, whatever you do, please do not say, we don't have the budget for that, or we don't have the staff for that, or we don't have the skills for that, or you can't get a good live reception here. I hear that all the time from you lovely folks in your province. We can't get good live reception out on the water. We can't get good live reception in the woods. We can't do that. And especially, we don't have time for that. I hear those excuses all the time. And, if the people in Prague had said, well, we never get permission from the city to film during a pandemic, or no, we shouldn't spend a lot of money putting that tour together, what if nobody buys it? You kind of can't. You've got to have a plan and think about what will work and think about what people would want. Think about what it's going to take to make it happen. You don't say we don't have all of these things and we can't. You say, how could we make this work? So if you don't have reception in the area that you want to film in, well, if you had a budget, could you, could we talk to people who do these kinds of things and figure out how to make it work? Because I'm pretty sure it's possible. It's just probably going to cost some money, and if we don't have the staff for it, how could we have the staff for it? We just last week did a social media session, a social media workshop with HNL, and one of the examples we covered was the Rising Tide Theater, and it was a lot of fun to try to come up with ideas on how they could really increase their social media presence. And one of them was to take their characters, their actors from the pageant, who are supposed to be from Newfoundland a long time ago, and drop them into today's setting, like going to the grocery store and going to the mechanic and driving a boat and learning how to drive a car and going into a kitchen and a restaurant, seeing all the modern appliances and learning how to work with them and just having conversations about that. That's going to take a lot of work, but you could probably get a grant for it. You could probably have students, get students to have it be one of their projects, their film students and stuff. There are ways to make things happen. So you can't say, if you go in with, we don't have or we can't, it's never going to get off the ground. So you have to always look at something with how could we make this work? If you don't know where to start, if this excited you and didn't piss you off, I hope it didn't piss anybody off. But if this whole thing excited you and it didn't piss you off, but you don't know where to start, okay? and you feel like you need some new skills, you don't know enough about filming, you don't know enough about social media, you don't know whatever, and you feel like you need some support. Okay, so here's one place to start is H&L. And they did not pay me to say this. In fact, they're probably blushing as I'm about to compliment them. It is insane to me how helpful and proactive and resourceful your association, H&L, is for its members. And you've got to remember that I work with a lot of global destinations and organizations, and I can honestly say that H&L does a better job at serving the needs of their members, especially when it comes to, I don't know what to do, like what resources are available to me, or I don't know how to do X, Y, Z, how can I learn how to do it? If you just ask these lovely people, I'm sure that they can point you in the direction of how you can get some of these skills and how you can get some of this knowledge. If you just need ideas, guys, come on, I put a heart on this slide because of how much I love you people. Here's my email address. I have ideas as naturally as breathing, thank God, because it's what I do for a living. So if I didn't have ideas that easily, my job would suck. But I love you guys. I love you people, and I've spent a lot of time with you, and I kind of come to care for you in a very familial kind of way. And so if you need ideas, drop me a line and tell me what you're thinking. And I'm happy to give you a little bit of time just bouncing around ideas with you, because I really want to see you guys succeed. And I really want to see you get past this. And I think that this is a really big opportunity for you to try some new things and potentially get some big exposure online. And I would love to see you take advantage of that. You can also, because I'd be the world's worst marketer if I didn't push my own newsletter for email signups, but we have a monthly newsletter that is called Pickled Red, and it's about having fun in travel marketing. Here are some of the things that people have said about it. But every month we send ideas, inspiration, fun things that other people are doing in the travel industry, fun virtual tourism experiences that other people are doing, great social media accounts that you should be following to get ideas on what you could be doing for your own social media. So if you are the kind of person who likes to get new ideas and you don't have a lot of new ideas on your own and you need some inspiration, then you should definitely sign up for this as well. The bit.ly is at the top, but you could also go to our website. And right on the top right corner of our website, there's a button where you can go right there and sign up for our newsletter. So parting thoughts, folks. Let's recap what I shared earlier today. Do not freeze. The temptation will be to freeze because you guys all thought this summer was going to be amazing, and now you're not so sure how amazing it's going to be. So please don't freeze. Please try to move forward. If you are freezing and you're freaking out and you're not sure what to do, and you just need a virtual hug, again, drop me an email, and I would be very happy to help get you over the hump. Infuse joy and positivity into everything that you do, because we are in the hospitality industry and that is our responsibility to the world. And always be sure to try and test some new things, because this is a great time to do that. And you could take advantage of it and you could potentially benefit from it. And when you come out on the other side of this whole pandemic nightmare, you will be significantly stronger for having tried those things. But most importantly is really just always keep moving forward and don't stand still. That is the worst possible thing that you can do, because those waves that are coming are just going to keep knocking you down. So you got to keep moving forward and trying different things. And that is it, guys. That's it. This was when I was at the Burn Cape up in the St. Anthony area, which is so gorgeous. And here's all my contact information. If you don't already have it and you want to take a picture of the screen so you can always reach me, please do so. I hope that this was helpful for everyone here today. And I miss you terribly. Your province is top of my list when we can travel to Canada again. Or I might just have to sneak into the country, prior to that. So in any case, thank you very much for what I hope was your attention. Couldn't see any of you, so you could have been watching television for all I know. But I hope that it was helpful. And I'm gonna, I guess, turn it back to you, Kelly. I see you popped on my screen again, so back over to you.
Thanks so much, Christina. Christina, at a time when the uncertainty is still there, today's end of Tourism Awareness Month, or coming to the conclusion of Tourism Awareness Month, your presentation today was very much needed. And keeping it positive, obviously, that's your forte. There's no doubt about it. Probably one of the most positive people I know. But keeping it positive and keeping it real and authentic was probably what we needed the most today. So thank you so much for all of that. I think a lot of us will take away, a lot about moving forward, not standing still, but trying new ideas. I'm a firm believer that we're going to get through this. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think a lot of collaboration and partnerships are going to go a long way in our province, and we will come out on the other side. So thank you for that positive energy today.
You're welcome.
I do have to say, going through your think about things and ask and probe and seek funding and all those little factors, and I was thinking, okay, is that our business? But more importantly, what really came to light, and I'm going to throw an accolade out there as well, when I looked at all those aspects, I really thought, if anyone in our community has been doing this, H&L has been doing this.
I agree.
They've really turned our industry into not only keeping us all together and well informed. They've been our biggest advocates and our biggest partners. So I share those accolades with you out to them, because they really defined everything you talked about today.
Yep.
I do have. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. So I want to thank the Hospitality Newfoundland team for organizing the event, and the crew at Eastern Audio for the technical support. There's still a couple of more sessions left, guys, and more importantly, we need to get in on Industry Fun Night. So for those of you that didn't register, go to hnl.ca. There is going to be some great entertainment, food demos from the Bonavista Social Club, mixology from the rooms, and a sneak peek of trails, tales, and tunes from Norris Point, plus trivia, and someone could win a trip from our corporate tourism winner this week from PAL Airlines. So still lots of exciting activities. And Christina, it's too bad. Hopefully you'll join us online.
I know.
What a great way to have a drink later. But hopefully we'll see everyone there. Thanks so much, everyone. Christina, we look forward to seeing you soon. Stay positive, everyone, and stay strong. Thanks again.
Bye.